Hey, what is up, you sexy beast? Solanum-Heart here, and I'm currently bringing you a scary story told about the Red Cross, and it's actually a pretty damn good story. If you guys have ever donated to the Red Cross, you can relate. It's pretty fun at the beginning, and then it gets scary towards the end, so definitely stay for the whole thing, guys, and I'm gonna get right into it. The Red Cross had been aggressive in the previous few weeks. It felt like every day there was a phone call soliciting my donation. That was my punishment for surrendering my contact information and my job's blood drive. Truth was, an hour off of work was far more alluring than the prospect of helping out, or making a difference, as they put it. Karma is ruthless. I answered the first time, not recognizing the number. They always have a unique way of making you feel guilty before they ask. Thank you for your last donation. The blood you gave saved 3 lives. And after listening to the lady describe the ongoing desperation for the donations, I feigned concern and let her know that I would stop by at some point. When she offered to schedule me an appointment, I awkwardly replied that I was very busy and could not commit to anything specific. She thanks me through a rehearsed judgmental tone and hangs up. She called again the next day and left a voicemail, then I ignored the call. I listened to it with comical disbelief as the same woman as before, and she was speaking as if she had never talked to me yesterday. I assumed that it was a simple mistake. After all, who knew how many calls she had to make each day? But the calls continued, never malicious, and unwaveringly pleasant. Obvious that she was leaving the same message every day. Eventually, she started calling from different numbers. I answered the first time and lied, telling her I had already donated a week in advance. She thanked me and apologized for the oversight in records. She called me the next day and leaving another voicemail identical to the others. How dense was this woman? I answered the next phone call and requested that I be removed from the call list. After a momentary sound of fingers tapping on the keys, she informed me that my name was out of their database and apologized for any inconvenience. But the calls did not stop. Once a day, around the same time, and never from the same phone number, it became routine to simply ignore the call and delete the message without even listening to it. Some quick research online yielded that these relentless solicitations were not uncommon, and on rare occasions have resulted in legal action. That seemed a bit much for me. It had been gone on for a while, and I stumbled upon the emails. As a common practice, when signing up for something I generally felt apathetic about, I used a junk email, normally reserved for password retrieval and spam. For every call, they had sent me 5 emails, each titled, "Sorry we missed you," and simply signed by Vicky. It wasn't until that point I realized how long these calls had been going on. What organization that relies on charity has the amount of resources needed to bother people this much? It felt entirely creepy. I decided to deactivate my email account. When the phone rang the next day, I could have sworn the caller ID read Mom. But then I answered it and it was a Red Cross again. Vicky. In shock, I hung up and checked the incoming call list received to find that it was just another, list of random numbers. It felt so real, though. Too real. I called my mom just to be sure. That evening I sat alone and weighed my options. The calls needed to stop, but any action beyond doing what I had already been doing seemed like overkill relative to the inconvenience. I could threaten Vicky with the police, but if the calls continued, would I really call the cops on the Red Cross? Changing my number seemed equally absurd. In the end, I decided to swallow my pride. I dialed the last number she had called me from and waited for Vicky's false politeness to flood my ears. Coincidentally, there was a blood drive mobile setup next to my local Walmart. It was not too far from where I lived. She set me up with an appointment and thanked me profusely for saving lives, even going as far as calling me an angel for some reason. That word gave me chills. Even if it only evaded me from calls for a few months, it was worth it. At least at the time, it could give me some sanity. As I pulled into the parking lot and I glanced down at my watch, I had arrived 15 minutes early, as if I was going in for a job interview. I was demanded to be the first appointment, which to my dismay was at 7 in the morning. As a coincidence, the lot was horrendously abandoned. I parked my car and made my way to the front door of the bus. It looked identical to the one it had been before. It could have been the same one. Before I could knock, the door folded open and a short, chubby man with glasses popped his head out. 7? The suddenness had stolen my speech. I only nodded. "You're early, but that's okay. Come on in and have a seat wherever you'd like." The bus was set up for multiple people, 8 on my count, so I found the idea that it was going to be unsettling with just me there. I immediately regretted the frustration that made me insist on being here ungodly early. As soon as I sat down, the man reached around me and strapped me to the seat. I shot him an uneasy look, which he responded with an awful nasally laugh. It is to keep you from falling out if you pass out. You know, safety precautions. Is this new? I don't remember this at all. Yes, it's new. We wouldn't want you bumping that head of yours. The man was mostly concealed behind a white lab coat. He wore a visor that reminded me of one of the bankers you would see in the old Western films. Whenever he leaned in too close, you could smell something awful. Once he laughed, I could see why. Had a man ever brushed his teeth? He swabbed my arm with alcohol and swiftly inserted the needle. I watched as my blood worked its way down the tube below my chair. Something occurred to me. Don't you need information from me? Like if I have any tattoos or if I've traveled to Africa or something? What if I'm not healthy enough to give? With men your age, we don't need to worry about after testing you the first time. I'll get all your information afterwards. Something didn't seem right about that. Did he forget and was covering his tracks? I rested my head back and let it go. I wasn't going to make something out of nothing. I felt fine. After a couple of minutes, he came back over and adjusted something underneath my seat. As he sat up, he noticed a scar on my other arm. What happened to your arm? Biking accident when I was really young. He focused on it for a moment, as if taking in every detail. Finally, he responded, "Oh, that's too bad. Too bad." The man continued to pace the aisle, occasionally stopping to do something under my chair. Eventually, I started to feel nauseous. How long had it been? I looked at my watch and it was missing. Had I taken it off? Did I forget it today? I frantically retraced my steps, unable to come to a definite conclusion. Had he taken it? I couldn't just accuse him of swiping a $10 watch. I asked him for the time when he shrugged, saying he wasn't sure. I felt so tired. He knelt down again, and this time I craned my neck to see what he was doing. I watched in horror as I realized what was happening. He was switching a full bag with an empty one. Every time. My heart started to race. How many? How many bags did he fill with my blood? I called out to him, surprised at the amount of effort it took. Aren't we done yet? He turned and smiled. You have a rare blood type, and usually in a case like this, when a donor is healthy enough, we take a double donation. I knew my blood type. He was lying. With all of my effort, I reached down to pull the strap loose. I didn't know how it happened so quickly. I didn't have enough strength to undo the Velcro strap. He watched me struggle for a moment before walking over to me and seizing my other arm. I screamed, but it did not make him hesitate for a second. We need to get some fluids into you. You do not look well at all. He slid another needle quickly beneath the skin of my other arm. For a brief moment, I thought everything might be okay. But after watching my blood fill the empty tube, I accepted that it was happening. He was bleeding me dry. My breathing had become labored. I had lost so much energy that every attempt to call for help was swiftled to a whimper. I finally began begging through a whisper, "Please, please don't do this." He just retorted with a chuckle. I was going to die here. My eyes struggled to stay open as I clung to consciousness, to life. I heard a knock on the door behind me, and I tried to yell, but nothing came out. Then I heard a door open, and a familiar voice rang through. "Are you nearly finished, Vicky?" "Yes, we can take the rest later." "Anything I should know?" "Yes, there's some significant scar tissue on his left arm. The skin should have to be processed." "That's fine. A little one can use it." I really hope you guys did enjoy the story. If you guys want to follow me on Twitch and watch my streams and buy my t-shirts and do whatever with the links below, hope you guys enjoy the story. Have a great day, and remember the fact that I love you.